Welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rise News channel. Earlier this week, Professor Yakub Mahmood bowed out as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission after spending 10 years as the head of the electoral body. Some people have praised him for his time as INEC chair, while others have criticized him for various reasons surrounding the handling of various elections under his watch. As Nigerians look forward to the forthcoming elections, President Tinubu has appointed Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, SAN, as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Bayo Onanuga, the presidential spokesman, announced this in a statement on Thursday. Amupitan, who is 58 years old, from Ayetoro in the Ijumu local government area of Kogi State, is a professor of law at the University of Jos Plateau State. Joining us now to discuss the nomination of a new INEC chairman as it goes for screening at the Senate, what steps need to be taken to ensure that we have a chairman that will deliver free and fair acceptable election results, is Yunusa, convener, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Great to have you, sir. Sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. I'd like to ask you this, sir. If we do not have electoral reforms, and we expect Professor Amupitan to perform magic in the 2027 elections, are we not just kidding and joking with ourselves? Because as it is today, I don't think there's anywhere we can have electoral reform before the 2027 elections. And all those things we highlighted in the 2023 elections that need to be made justiciable. So are we not just expecting too much from Professor Amupitan leading up to the 2027 elections?
I think first is that I am an optimist. So I still believe that we would be able to have an electoral reform that reach a logical conclusion. I think what is needed is that Nigerians, not particularly civil society organizations, the media, need to amplify the voice that our National Assembly should do the needful thing so that the reform process is as quickly as possible concluded so that we have an electoral act that would guide the conduct of the next election, So by getting the electoral act to be amended is one leg of the conduct of the election. Getting the credible people, non-partisans, to be at the head of affairs at INEC is also another leg of the process. Without both of these meeting what we call the threshold conditions, then we will not be able to see the conduct of a free, fair, and credible election. So I think that the two have to occur simultaneously. The conclusion of the electoral reform and the appointment of people of impeachable character who would meet the test of impartiality, neutrality, and of course competence in this conduct.
All right, thank you very much. I have two questions for you. We've heard a lot about the competence and the impressive CV of Professor Amupitan, whether it be in the academic circle and also in corporate management. So speaking to his abilities or credentials to be able to lead INEC. In addition to that, because we've seen previous professors occupy that role, Professor Maurice Iwu, Professor Tahiru Jega, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, what are some of the other qualities that Nigeria should be looking out, especially since he'll be appearing before Senate, to pass through Senate's endorsement or passing through? Then beyond that, you've been an advocate of the introduction of technology as part of enhancing the electoral process in Nigeria. What are the areas in the electoral reform you'd like to speak to as it applies to using technology to make the process freer and fairer?
Okay, so let me start with the person who should be at the head of affairs in INEC. It doesn't matter whether he is a professor or a medical doctor or a bureaucrat What is needed is that we need somebody with competence that has been demonstrated in past engagement. We need somebody that has the courage to stand and say the truth against power. We need somebody who is transparent and not a member of a political party in the night and in the day member of a National Electoral Commission. And so that is very critical in terms of steering the neutrality and impartiality of INEC. And that is why we want an open process of screening of candidates who are nominated for the position of national commissioners and, of course, the chairman of INEC. We want people who know them, people who have engaged with them, people who have interacted with them, people who will know them, to be able to say, I know this person, I can vote for this, or that I know he belongs to a political association or political party, you know, so that we don't go into a process in which somebody who had been partisan, who had been member of a political party is appointed to do these things, you know. That would compromise the process. Now, to return to the Electoral Act, over the years that I think Nigerians have seen a progressive increase, improvement in the conduct of the elections, particularly from the perspective of the law and the provisions of the law. Now, I think that in the last election, two things have happened. One is that the INEC did not adhere to its own guidelines, and then that when the court ruled, it simply followed INEC on the dereliction of responsibility to follow it through its own law. So I think that what they have utilized was some ambiguity in the law. The law is very clear that we needed the transmission of results, and those results must be uploaded on the viewing portal. Now, they didn't do that, and they simply said it was a guideline. Guideline is something that once you agree, once INEC set up its guideline, then this guideline becomes a law for it. So I think that one of the key reform that we are saying is that a clear, explicit provision be made in the law so that we don't go next time arguing on whether this is guideline or this is a law, you know. So we need a very emphatic statement that mandates INEC compulsorily to transmit the results electronically. I think that's one important demand that we are making. With the law.
Okay, sir. But that will be hard to do because you need to pass that through the National Assembly. A National Assembly that is largely tilted to one political party as we speak today because of defections. And the part of it that is interesting is that you need the president to sign it. No president, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I can be an appeals on this matter, but no president, except for Goodluck Jonathan, signs an electoral reform leading up to an election he's going to participate in. We saw how President Buhari did it. He told them they didn't write I or T properly, typographical errors, and he kept on sending it back. So, do you think President Tinubu will have the courage to sign that reform? And is the bill now even before the National Assembly for review and consideration in the first place?
Well, I think we need to learn from history. Yes, presidents do not want to sign down to Electoral Act, that they will be part of the elections. But I've seen that in the past that the power of citizens was able to defeat the third-term agenda, you know. So it's the same power. When Nigerians are galvanized, when Nigerians are fully mobilized, I think that they will be able to force the hands of these elected representatives to legislate on what they want. And yes, They could legislate, and then the president might refuse to assent. But I think that there would be the same power that Nigerians force their sons would be able to get them to be able to override the presidential assent and be able to pass the law into that. So I think for me, really, what is important is that the Nigerians, and particularly civil society organization, must go out and mobilize Nigerians to be able to demand from these legislators that this process should be quickly concluded so that we have a law that we all believe would deliver credible elections in this country.
All right, that's what we want, credible elections. But as we wrap up this interview, I'd like to ask you, as we welcome Professor Amupitan as the new INEC chair following clearance by the Senate, what lessons can he learn, whether in the area of successes or shortcomings, from his predecessors? What are some of the lessons and takeaways he can learn from his predecessors?
Well, for me, I think that there seems to be some kind of confusion in the public discourse about the nomination of the INEC chairman. First of all, I think that we need to clear that. What the president has done is actually to nominate, and that does not amount to an appointment. And so the Senate has to screen and confirm or reject that nominee. And I think that at this stage, what we would, as civil society, are demanding are two things. The first is that the president needs to be transparent with Nigerians. Can you publish the credentials, the experience, the engagement of this nominee so that we all know him? Yes, we know he had been an academic. Yes, we know he had done one thing or the other. But we want a formal communications to Nigerians. This is the person that are nominating, and not just a name. This is the person, he has worked in so place and so forth, this is his performance, so we need that. Secondly, that we need the National Assembly, Senate to do a very transparent process of screening. And that means that it should include invitation for people to send petitions. People who are interested, people who have information, let them send petitions and let them provide guidelines on how those petitions can be submitted, so that citizens who have information can be able to assist the Senate in terms of its determination on the suitability or otherwise of this nominee. I think that we need to,
All right, we're out of time, sir. I'd just like you to just wrap up your thoughts.
I wanted to say that.
Yes, just summarize your thoughts, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm saying that in the past we've known when the card-carrying party members were appointed. And I think that was possible because there was no scrutiny. Nobody knew who they were. Simply the Senate go and take a bow. I think that our democracy has passed that stage, and that we need people to be screened publicly and transparently, and the Senate ought to answer to Nigerians on what basis are you confirming a particular candidate, and not just simply because you have received communication from the president.
Absolutely. We do not want a rubber-stamped Senate. We want a Senate that will do its due diligence in the area of scrutiny and oversight. Very well said. Thank you so much, sir, for your time with us this morning.